Good afternoon and welcome once again to the group exhibit Hydrogen Fuel Cells and Batteries at the Hanover Fair 2016. Those who are standing, please do come in and sit down. Feel free to participate in the discussion, raising your hand at any time, and I'll come around with a microphone. Drinks are on the house, so make yourself comfortable. Right now we're talking about Dachs InnoGen, the newest member to the Dachs family of SenerTec. Joining me from InnoTec, actually, the division manager of R&D, today representing SenerTec, is Philipp Klose. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for the nice introduction. Good to be back here.
Good. Welcome back. So you work at InnoTec, but you're representing SenerTec today. Can you tell us about that, please?
That's correct. Both companies of the BDR Thermea group, and InnoTec, located in Hamburg, is the competence center fuel cell. So we have been involved in fuel cells since the late 90s in Hamburg, and are the R&D center for this technology in the BDR Thermea group. SenerTec, on the other hand, is located in the southern part of Germany, in Schweinfurt, and they are our main brand for CHP technologies. So it's a natural choice to also introduce this new technology via this well-known player in the market who has the total infrastructure to introduce such a new technology. So SenerTec is represented on the booth of the initiative Fuel Cell, and today I'm talking on behalf of them.
So this new product that you alluded to, what is it?
Well, the new product, we've now finished all the certification process, and SenerTec is introducing the Dachs InnoGen, the newest member to the Dachs family. This means that SenerTec, with all the other CHP products in their portfolio, has the Dachs family name. So they started with a 5 kilowatt internal combustion engine. They have a 20 kilowatt engine on the upper end. They have a Stirling Dachs, and now on the lower heat demand side for the application, they have the fuel cell technology, which we are introducing.
So the fuel cell fits well into the micro combined heat and power industry. Exactly.
It's tailored for the one or two family house. So we have a 700 watt electric system, and it has an integrated condensing boiler with 20 kilowatts to supply the extra heat in wintertime when the fuel cell is obviously not capable to do the job itself. But the fuel cell is designed for the base load, more or less, in the house, the electric load. So therefore, the heat output of the fuel cell in the CHP mode is naturally not enough for a normal house, especially when you're looking at the retro furnish market. There's where we need more heat. In the new build market, sometimes fuel cell could be close to enough, but still you have hot water demand, and you need a peak load boiler in a proper system to supply the needs of the customer.
Would you change your system for the retrofit versus new builds then? Would you specify the size of the system differently or use the same model?
No, we would use the same model. Also, the integrated condensing boiler is a modulating device, so it can obviously also supply the heat for lower demand houses. And it's defined as a range-rated boiler, and that means the installer, when they install the unit in the house, they can actually do the setting of the load range the boiler shall modulate in. So it's exactly tailored to the house, and we can supply also the low heat demand market, new build houses, up to maybe 25,000 kilowatt hours would be our typical range for the system, and it's tailored for the whole range. This is basically done because in our development strategy in BDR Thermea, we are applying a strong concept called the building block concept. So we're using well-known technologies from the different competence centers, well-proven technologies, and we're putting them together to a new product, which we did with the Dachs InnoGen. So it's of course an innovative new technology in terms of the fuel cell, but the rest of the product is well-known technology, the expertise of the whole group of BDR Thermea embedded in these components, in the condensing boiler as well as the energy manager, which is basically the heart and the core intelligence of the fuel cell system.
So that is important. It's a system. It's not, you're not selling fuel cells, you're selling an entire system. So how has that technology development cycle changed over time, concentrating more on the system integration and the customer demands?
Well, I mean, over time, you have to define what that means. But if we start at the beginning, of course, it was really an innovative approach. So we were looking at, is it possible to operate a fuel cell in a household? Does it produce the energy? Yes, we could deliver energy to the house. That was back in the 90s. Then it was a period of, can we meet actual specifications of the product? So does it perform, does it deliver the lifetime? Does it deliver efficiencies? Does it have the start and stop capability such a product needs? So this was all intermediate steps in between in the first part. And then later, maybe in 2008, 9, 10, we were more focusing on the product approach. So rather than just delivering a fuel cell unit, we were starting to deliver systems. The first approach was, let's integrate a condensing boiler together with a fuel cell, so we had a combined system. Next system generation was a combination of this package together with hot water storage tank and the hydraulics. And this is really the evolution, what finally made the Dachs InnoGen. So it's now a plug-and-play system for the end customer. It brings all the needs the house has in terms of heat production, electricity production, and hydraulics. So we have two controlled heating circuits integrated. We have the freshwater station integrated. And of course, you could do this all alone. The installer could buy a fuel cell, could buy a boiler, could do the hydraulics in the house during the installation process. But I think the key factor for our system is it is highly integrated. All the parts via the energy manager, via the intelligence, can talk to each other. They know exactly what the storage level in the tank, for example, is, what the fuel cell is currently doing. Shall we now come with the condensing boiler to meet a peak load demand? Or do we know from the time of the day that we could probably survive with the heat which is stored in the buffer tank and then fill the tank again overnight? So you need to have intelligent concepts in this energy manager to finally deliver what the customer needs, which is an economic case for his heating system.
So you're making the installer's job easier. You're delivering a black box that works, and that's it.
Well, it's I wouldn't say we make the installer job easier. It's still a new technology. It's a high-tech heating technology, and that is then also one of the key factors why we decided to choose SenerTec as our starting brand with the technology. SenerTec has a well-established structure, a well-established grid of so-called centers over Germany. There's 30 centers distributed over Germany to cater the different regions, and these centers have partner installer companies who all know CHP technology already, who are all trained on CHP technology, the different products SenerTec has. And now they just need to understand the specifics of the fuel cell, which is not much. I mean, when we are then talking about service, there might be a few parts different than with the other technologies, but in general it's also a box with a CHP unit on the inside. So they need to be trained this extra stretch, extra piece for the installation of the fuel cell. But in general, it's a well-established network of installers who can handle such a complex technology, which it still is. I mean, we need to be careful with the market introduction. We need to care that the first steps this baby technology is doing in the market are done right, so that the reputation is kept at the right expectation. And I think, or we think, our group thinks this is done with this experienced installer network.
So you can leverage the installer network of SenerTec, but with that comes also the service network. What kind of service do you envision for your systems?
Well, I said it's a combined system, so we have a condensing boiler in the unit, which needs the annual service as usual with every condensing boiler. And the fuel cell itself is fairly robust when you're talking about service calls. So we have a 3-year service cycle, and in this service event there's basically just the filters being exchanged. So we have an air filter obviously for the fuel cell, and we have a water filter in the system, and these two need to be exchanged on a 3-year cycle. There's also a third filter for the sulfur in the natural gas, which we need to produce our hydrogen, and this filter is exchanged on a 6-year interval.
Okay, fair enough. I want to circle back because you alluded to the energy manager and the intelligence of the system. So could you explain a little bit more about how your system interfaces with both the customer and the service provider and the utilities?
Well, the system is online connected, so the customer as well as our service partners have online connection to the system. They can see 24/7 what the performance, what the status of the system is. The system will send service calls if needed. It's via that connection also possible for example, an energy utility to connect to the system, to connect several systems together. Virtual power plants is then the key term in that regard. For the end customer, with the energy manager, they can of course do it via any PC, tablet or smartphone, but they can also on the unit set the operating cycles, so they can choose between a heat-led operation or a power electricity-led operation, or they can choose even a constant operating mode if wanted. So that's up to their free choice. Of course, the system would give from our perspective the best operating strategy, but it can be modified by the customer as they like.
So when you're saying a full system, you're saying the hardware, the service, warranties, installation, and all the software that comes with it. It's a full package.
It's a full package with a 10-year service contract. Right now, SenerTec is selling this. Excuse me. Right now, SenerTec is selling this via the Innofield scheme, and then hopefully throughout the year, we've heard today already on the stage that Germany is planning a market introduction program. Then, of course, SenerTec will sell via this program to the end customer as well.
Excellent. So, changing just a little bit, because your technology is the core of the product. So a lot of companies for micro CHP do use solid oxide fuel cells, but I believe you use proton exchange membrane fuel cells. Does it matter to the customer which they use?
Well, it shouldn't matter to the customer what they use. This should at least be the final state. I mean, the customer will buy a box with a fuel cell CHP unit, and it should provide the customer's needs in terms of lifetime reliability, start-stop capability. We have developed the fuel cell technology, our fuel cell CHP unit, on the PEM basis all along. And this is due to a couple of factors. There's technical factors in terms of start-stop capability, which we find crucial for a CHP unit in a single-family house. And the PEM technology brings this capability, so our unit can do 4,000 start-stop cycles over the lifetime without any effect. The second is the lifetime itself, the durability of the stack technology. We were not convinced that a business concept by changing stacks is ultimately the choice to do. So with the PEM technology, with our stack today, we have a design life of 80,000 hours on the reformed gas. So typically the stacks will last even longer, and that's what we feel is necessary. But then on the other hand, there's also economic considerations behind that. And on the one hand side, PEM technology is the technology of choice in the automotive industry. So once this kicks in, there will be volume effects, is our belief. And also when you look at the total market right now, in Japan, we are well over 100,000 small CHP units PEM-based in the market. So this brings economies of scale as well. And we are partnering with Toshiba, one of the two big players in Japan. So we are trying to leverage on these cost effects from Japan also for the European customers.
So speaking of costs and volumes, do you think volumes is the main driver for cost reduction in the future, or are there still technological advances that can drive down the cost of the systems as well?
It's still both. So volume is, from my point of view, the most important right now. So we really need to prove that this technology is able to create a market in Europe. So we are strongly looking forward for the market introduction program as a whole industry. So that's not speaking for BDR, but really the industry represented on the booth of the Initiative Fuel Cell. This is what will kickstart the market. We've done a lot of field trials and demonstration now, and with the market introduction program focused onto the end customer, this will create the awareness in the market. This will create volume, and this will also drive down costs quite substantially. But there's still quite a bit of potential on the technology side itself. So if you compare this to cars, for example, I mean, we are in 1910 or something, so right at the beginning. And therefore, there's a lot of potential in the technology itself. We are, of course, going through further iterations of the technology development. Some are just taking the current product a little further, also in terms of cost reduction. And then there's also basic technology development, which will cut out big chunks of cost in the further future generations.
Never stop innovating.
No, not possible with such new kind of technology.
Wonderful. At this time, I'd like to see if there's any questions from the audience on this technology or the commercialization of this product. If not, then my next moderator will be happy because we are out of time. So, Philipp Klose, thank you very much for joining us. You can go see his stack and more about his talk to him more about his technology at E51, just over on the other side there. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
So please do stick around. Just in a minute, joining us on stage, there will be a talk on HYF, emission-free flight, vision or reality. We have Professor Dr. Josef Kallo, Head of Energy Systems Integration for the Deutsches Zentrum für Luft- und Raumfahrt. Thank you.